You don't actually think you're worthless. You think you're too much. And somehow, that feels even worse. There's this thought that creeps in you quietly, almost politely, every time you need something from someone. Every time you're about to send that text, make that call, or ask for help. It whispers, don't. You'll bother them. They have enough going on. They don't really want to hear this. And so you swallow it. You handle it alone. You say I'm fine when you're not. And you get so good at disappearing into yourself that people actually start to believe you don't need anything at all. But here's what nobody ever tells you, that voice isn't the truth. It's a wound. And today, we're going to talk about exactly where it came from, why it won't shut up, and what it's quietly doing to your life without you even realizing it. Because if you've ever shrunk yourself to make room for everyone else, if you've ever apologized for needing things that are completely normal to need, if you've ever felt genuine guilt just for existing in someone's space, this video was made for you. Not for people in general. For you. So let's get into it. Here's the thing most people don't understand about that "I'm a burden" feeling. It doesn't come from nowhere. It doesn't just randomly show up one day in adulthood and decide to ruin your relationships. It was installed, quietly, early, by experiences that taught your nervous system a very specific lesson, that your needs were either too big, too inconvenient, or simply not welcome. Think about it for a second. Nobody is born feeling like a burden. Babies don't feel guilty for crying. Toddlers don't apologize for needing attention. That's not how humans work at the start. So somewhere between childhood and now, something happened. Something taught you that needing things, needing people, came at a cost. For some people, it was a parent who was emotionally overwhelmed. Not abusive, not cruel, just unavailable. A mom who was dealing with her own depression and couldn't always show up. A dad who was stressed about work and got irritated when you interrupted him. And you, being a smart, sensitive child, picked up on that. You learned to read the room. You learned that your needs had timing, that there were right moments and wrong moments to need something, and getting it wrong meant tension, guilt, or being made to feel like a problem. For others, it was more direct. Maybe you were actually told, with words, that you were too sensitive, too needy, too dramatic. Maybe you asked for something emotional and got shut down. Maybe you cried and were told to stop. Maybe you expressed a need and the adult in front of you made it very clear, with their eyes or their tone or their silence, that this was not something they had space for. And for some people, it wasn't even one specific moment. It was the atmosphere. Growing up in a household where everyone was struggling financially, emotionally, physically, and you could feel how much was already on everyone's plate. So you made yourself small. You stopped asking. You became the easy one. The low-maintenance one. The one nobody had to worry about. And people praised you for it. They called you mature. Independent. So strong, but here's the part nobody talked about: you weren't strong. You were lonely. You were a child who had quietly decided that love was conditional on how little space you took up. And that decision? It followed you. Now you're an adult, and that old survival strategy is still running in the background like an app you forgot to close. You downplay your pain to your friends because you don't want to be that person. You cancel therapy appointments because you convince yourself other people have real problems. You stay in relationships where your needs are never met because somewhere deep down, you believe that's the deal: you give, they receive, and you're grateful just to be included. You apologize constantly. Not just for mistakes, for existing. For taking up space in a conversation. For asking a question. For needing a moment. The apologies come out automatically, before you've even thought about whether you actually did anything wrong. Because in your nervous system, taking up space is wrong. Needing things is an inconvenience. And you've been managing that belief for so long it just feels like personality. But it's not your personality. It's your wound. And this wound, this deep, quiet belief that you are too much, it doesn't just hurt you emotionally. It shapes everything. It shapes which relationships you enter and which ones you stay in long past their expiration date. It shapes how you show up at work, whether you advocate for yourself or silently accept being overlooked. It shapes your friendships, because if you never let people actually help you, you never let them actually know you. And loneliness is what grows in that gap. There's actually a name in psychology for this pattern. Researchers call it unmitigated communion, and it describes people who are so focused on others' needs and so afraid of burdening anyone that they essentially erase their own needs from the equation entirely. Studies have found that people with this pattern experience higher rates of depression, anxiety, and relationship dissatisfaction. Not because they don't love the people around them, but because the relationship only ever flows one direction. And here's the devastating irony: the people who feel most like a burden are often the least burdensome people in the room. They're the ones checking on everyone else. The ones who remember your bad week and ask about it. The ones who show up, help out, and never ask for anything in return. The people who actually drain the people around them? They never spend a single second worrying about whether they're too much. That thought doesn't even occur to them. So if you're watching this and recognizing yourself, please hear this. The fact that you're worried about being a burden is, in itself, proof that you probably aren't one. But knowing that doesn't automatically fix it. Because this isn't a logic problem. You can't just think your way out of a feeling that lives in your body, in your nervous system, in the reflexes that were shaped before you had the words to describe them. So what actually helps? The first thing is learning to witness the thought instead of obeying it. When that voice shows up and says, "Don't bother them," you don't have to argue with it or silence it. Just notice it. There it is again. That's the old story. You're not crazy for having it. But you don't have to treat it as truth just because it's familiar. The second thing, and this is the one people resist most, is practicing small asks. Not grand vulnerability. Not dumping everything at once. Just small, low-stakes moments of letting someone help you. Accepting a favor without immediately figuring out how to repay it. Texting a friend when you're struggling instead of waiting until you've already figured it out on your own. Letting someone sit with you in your mess for 5 minutes. These small moments are actually how trust gets rebuilt, not just with other people, but with yourself. And the third thing is this: start paying attention to how you feel when the people you love need you. When your friend calls crying at 11 p.m., do you secretly resent them? Do you think, ugh, they're such a burden? Almost certainly not. You probably feel glad they called. You want to be there. You feel trusted, needed, close. That feeling, that warmth, is exactly what you're denying the people who love you when you disappear into yourself and refuse to need anything. Your needs are not an imposition. They are an invitation. An invitation for the people who love you to actually show up. And when you keep turning down that invitation on their behalf, when you decide for them that they can't handle it, that they don't want to, that it's too much, you're not protecting them. You're protecting a story you learned a long time ago that was never really true. The people who love you? They want to know when you're hurting. They want the chance to be there. And somewhere, underneath all those years of making yourself small, you want to let them. That's not weakness. That's actually one of the bravest things a person can learn to do. And honestly, you've already done the hardest part. You've sat with this. You've recognized it. Most people spend their whole lives carrying this weight and never once stop to look at it directly. You just did. So the next time that voice shows up and tells you not to bother anyone, pause. Take a breath. And ask yourself, is this the truth? Or is this just the old story again? Because you are not too much. You never were. Drop a brain in the comments if this one hit close to home. I read every single one. And if you know someone who needs to hear this today, share this video with them. It might be exactly what they've been waiting for someone to say. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.